Who's around right now, baby, right now? Doing improv, baby, right now, now, now. Who's around right now, baby, right now? Doing improv, baby, right now, 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 now.
Aha!
Wow,
Fuller,
glasses. Time?
looking at me like I wasn't just stuttering 30 seconds ago. You're a beautiful friend.
No, well, stuttering isn't a bad thing. Stuttering is just a speech pattern. It's morally neutral.
It's morally neutral. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you for
problem.
I did not miss the glasses compliment. I will soak that in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm
'Cause
happy to see your face.
yeah, you wouldn't want someone else with a stutter to think that you are judgmental of people with stutters.
No, and in fact, my friend uh has a slight lisp now because they are missing one of their front teeth, and we're like,
Mhm.
well, I don't want to like call attention to it. And I'm like, you have made fun of my stutter for the over a decade that we've been friends, and you, so you lisp away, friend. You lisp away.
Yeah, no one should be making fun of anyone's stutter or any kind of
Right.
speech. It's just a different cadence.
That was my little elbow to be like, it sucks, don't it? Isn't it
Yeah.
better when we're all
Yeah, man, you gotta
howdy?
get better friends. Fuck that friend. I don't know who they are, but fuck them. Um,
I like the
just
ones that say howdy.
honestly, these are the friends we like. Chloe and Roy never say anything about the stutter. Um, but we are we're knee we're knee deep into a rabbit hole, everybody. So yeah, LG and I were just talking, and I want to bring it back in because I'm still curious about the period tracking apps.
Mm.
And
We're
I don't
talking we
understand.
went on a security culture rabbit hole. This is
Yes.
great. We've
Yeah.
got two ADHD people ish.
Yeah, talking about yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so the thing so internet security wise, so I do understand that like there was that court case that like people got their messages brought into court to prove someone to help someone with an abortion, right? And I'm kind of patiently waiting to find out that was fake too because I don't know, maybe it's real, maybe it's real, I don't know. But the reason why I get confused about the period tracking apps is because I understand that they can lie to you about not taking your data, not selling your data. Like, I'm like, I get that because there's fine print. They're like, we're not going to leak your data. And then they're like, fine print of like, but you know, we do own it. So we can take it, whatever.
We own
So
you and your blood type.
that's fine. Yeah, whatever. But I don't know. And maybe some people are better at tracking their periods than I am, but I find, so I actually have stopped using my period app only because it like rebooted and signed me out and I don't know my fucking login. So I've just been like, well, then I'm just raw dogging this whole thing. Like I don't know when it's coming and I'm just guessing based on my moods and food cravings and discharge. I don't know if that's too much information, everybody, but that's just what it is. So I'm just like, well,
That's a rabbit hole of information that is good to know. I
yeah,
would not to answer the question at every first, even at like, they ask you at the friggin' dentist, when's the date of your last period? I would not know unless pull out my phone. I'm like, is it important for you to know?
yeah, right.
Or do you just
Something
need
like
to know if
that.
I'm pregnant?
No, they just need to know if you're pregnant. That's what it is. They just need to know if you're pregnant because they can't risk that sort of thing, right?
Katie, who works with pregnant and nursing people all the time, be in and out today. Expect my words are utter nonsense, and I'm here the whole time.
Yeah, so
But
just know, Katie, honestly, do we even know if this is the real you or not? Like, I don't see underscores. I don't see Katie Booker 6. Like, I feel like all the Katie
yeah,
Bookers I'm friends with on Instagram seem more legit than this Katie Booker. So I'm not sure.
it's got a K though. It's got a
Yeah,
K. Only
that must be an
nobody
inside
I
joke
know.
just for people who are currently friends with Katie Booker, whose Instagram account got hacked and renamed a
Deep,
bunch of
deep,
times.
deep, deep, deep cut.
Deep cut. But anyways, right. So here's the thing what I don't get is that when I track my period, I mess up on this thing all the time. Like I forget. Like usually when I first get it, I'm like, oh, really? Already? And then I look up the app and I'll be like, oh, no, yeah, that's right. Okay, I just lost track of time. Like that's basically what happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I bled. But the app takes guesses and fills in for me because I never fill in the whole cycle. I never, ever, ever. And maybe people do, but I just get bored. Like, and by day 4, I'm like, I'm just going to ignore that I even have a period and just not even wear protection and just
I've
leave
gotten the thing out of it that I needed to get out of it, which is when is my period coming?
Which is right. Which is like me being like, what the fuck? Why is this happening? Yeah, oops. Yeah, right. So no one's coming. Yeah, that makes sense, right? And I think if I had more, like, I currently have sex with someone who also like can't get me pregnant right now, and so like I also like don't like so it's less of a care for me. But
Oh my God, I did
Yeah.
not. I did all. Okay, yeah, that is another reason to have a period. Okay, yeah, if you're either trying to get pregnant or not trying to get pregnant or just curious about your pregnancy,
right, your status. Yeah. That's another. Yeah, right. So there's a ton of reasons. So people like plan vacations, like a ton of reasons to know when your cycle is, right? But I guess the thing that I don't understand about like, and I do believe that like data can be leaked, and there was that court case, right? I guess the thing I don't understand is that like when I don't enter it in for a month, like there was a few month span where I just like forgot I even had the app, wasn't really entering it in, right? And there was also another big chunk of time when I actually was pregnant. You know what the app did? Backlogged for me and filled it in. So the app refilled in when I had my period, which I actually wasn't having. What's this?
Do you use Clue? I used to use Clue. It sounds like that.
Yeah.
Because it was very, very weird. Like, how did it know?
No, it's just counting days. It's just averaging your cycles and putting them back. And it was all lies. Like, because I only tracked the first couple days and then I stopped giving a shit. The period's like, your period only lasts 3 days. I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm lying to you, app. But that's the thing I don't understand. Like when people are like worried about their stuff getting leaked, I'm like, are you that good at tracking that the app is like, oh shit, they didn't log in? Or is it just like a conspiracy theory in order to distract us from like the real issues? Like, is this sort of stuff like, is this like one of those things like delete all your data from period apps because that's the real problem? It's like, is that the real problem?
It's not the real problem, but I think it's like if you're in a position where you're providing aid or perhaps like so worried about it, I think it doesn't affect us as much because we're in some states where it's
sure we're in some states, but I feel like, okay, so let's say I have an abortion in a state that is uncompromised, right? And so like the period app doesn't know that I was pregnant. It's not like I log into the period app being like, missed it today and I must be pregnant. You can just lie to the app.
Yeah.
Like just lie to the app. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I just, or if it does
for the prosecute, it doesn't have to make, you're trying to make it make sense, and that's good, but prosecutors aren't doing that. They're just going to take it as evidence. It doesn't
like if you get pulled into court, like so if your period data gets pulled into court, right?
Right.
There's going to be other missing months too. There's going to be other missing information. So wouldn't you just be like, yeah, it's with all the other missing information I don't have in there, but plus Clue will backtrack it. So if you miss entering, Clue just is like, oh, you probably had your period that week, and then goes back. So I don't get why people are paranoid about that, because I'm not saying, listen, abortion rights should be legal everywhere. These states that are limiting people's rights, it's totally wrong.
It's
like
just
that,
one piece of evidence that they can use
but I don't even understand.
It's just another thing. And you're saying all the right stuff. It's not. It's not. You're absolutely right. But it doesn't stop people from using it, prosecutors from using it as evidence.
But could they use it? Right. It's not a solid evidence because of human error. Like, could they?
They could use it.
I do know some court of laws don't care about evidence or actual right justice. They just will vote however they want to. But at that point, they're not going to care about the period tracking data. Like that point, you know what I mean? Like at that point, the period tracking data is not it. And I don't know, maybe I'm just not getting it. But to me, it's like some folks were really like, oh, fuck, what do I do now? What do I do now? Do I have to use paper calendar? Like, how do I manage this? I'm like, who, or like put it in your calendar as like a secret event.
Those people might, you're not compromised then. That's good. I think you're going through all the things trying to make it make sense, but continue using the apps the way you're not if you're not worried about anybody going through your stuff.
If I were to hide a secret abortion, I would just log into the app that I had my period that week. Like, I just don't understand. Like, if that was the thing of like, oh shit, Just
Yeah.
lie to the app.
It's
a
just one
fucking
more
app.
thing. Don't. It's just one more
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, I think that internet security, it is scary stuff. Sometimes I wonder what is blown out of proportion and what is true news and what's untrue news. And like I get that. I guess I just I don't know. And maybe it is a part of me that is naive, and I would love to hear if anybody. I just don't like the app part. Doesn't make like how
Yeah.
that would stand up in a court of law at all, and it hasn't yet. It's not like it's actually been brought in yet.
Yeah.
So it was just someone tweeted like delete all your period apps because how do you know that they're going to use it against you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you really think they're going to take all this data from all these apps, mine through to try to find someone who had an abortion based on them not entering their bleeding days? And I'm like,
Right.
that is because the app covers it
It
for you.
makes no sense.
That
Yeah.
is
People can just lie. You could just go on the internet and tell lies. You could just go on your
can
phone
lie,
and tell lies.
and then also the app will lie for you. If I just don't log in anything those days, my app's like, we know you had your period because it's time, so we
Yeah.
put it in for you.
I think you're trying to make the justice system make sense.
I feel like I'm trying to make folks who are so afraid of using a period app and they feel like they don't have any other sources to have it but a paper calendar.
Mm.
I just want them to reflect for a second. What do you think is going to happen? Because I think sometimes we get on these trains of thought of like, oh shit, this worst outcome is going to come out. And we don't actually even think for a second, like, what would happen if that outcome, like, okay, so it happens. What happens now? What's next? Like,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's more about the jumping on the bandwagon of I'm not looking into what is actually going through. I'm just gonna go through. I'm gonna do
like
what they say and to get rid of the.
I mean, I just feel like someone on Twitter was like, delete it all. They're going to use it, delete it all, know that. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And Handmaid's Tale, I understand how that is not really fictional. Like, I understand that part of our world. Like, so I'm not saying that there isn't more shit that's going on than what people know about. Like, that I do believe. I just feel like for a second, if you're debilitated by not using a period app, just fucking use it. Like,
Yeah.
no one's gonna know. No one's gonna. That's not gonna get pulled. And if you're having an abortion, just enter it in that you had a period. And even if you don't enter it in that you have a period, most period apps are gonna guess that you did have a period and enter it in for you. And the data is always corrupt. Like, that's the part. I'm like, the data is corrupt. The data is so error prone. How in the world do people think that this is going to be an issue? And that's the part I don't.
Because there are other. I think it's one piece of security culture that gets lopped in. Like we just, security culture.
Right.
I think it depends what you are doing and what you are using your stuff for and how tight a ship you want to keep stuff.
Wow.
I am not a lawyer.
Yeah.
If you are doing something where you are, it depends on what
Wow.
for and how comfortable you want to feel.
Yeah, use the internet for it. Yeah, that was weird.
Right? I wish that
you froze.
My internet's not great.
Oh yeah, you froze at like a perfect moment of like it seemed like the internet was censoring. I'm just saying. You might be onto something. No, I think people have different measures of security that makes them feel more secure than others. I'm going to give you another example of this. This is real life. So I once lived below a Coke dealer. And this was when I lived right near Providence College. I was just out of college. And he was actually the main Coke dealer for Providence College. Like that was basically his territory. Yeah. And he didn't go to PC. He was from the area, from Providence. And he just like tapped into the fact that PC kids did a lot of cocaine. Because it's a money drug. If you have a lot of wealth, you can do cocaine. Like poor kids do pot and rich kids do cocaine. And like and all probably other stuff too. But anyways, but the point is that he made a ton of money. And I found him fascinating because I was just like, I want to understand. I love understanding stuff. Like I am all about a rabbit hole. I want to understand everything. You do something different than what I am doing. I want to know everything. I want to ask you questions. Like I'm just so into that sort of stuff. So anyways, I would make him dinner and he would come down and eat my food. And I was like, I'm a good cook. So I would make him dinner and he would just tell me all about his business. Cause I was like, this is fascinating me. Would you come down and talk to me about how this works? You know, cause like little things.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
You're
So
like
he
a
was,
little boarding house.
yeah. I mean, like, you know, he just, you know, he lived upstairs from me and I was just fascinated by it. And I get interested in my neighbors. I always want to know what they're up to, you know? So just, don't come into my circle if you don't want me to ask you a bunch of questions about your life. But anyways, he would tell me all about like the business he ran and how he had, like, one of my biggest questions was like, why do you have so many cars? And he was like,
How many cars did he have?
at least 5. Which
That's
is
a lot of overnight parking in the city. Yeah. Okay.
It was a problem with how our this is the reason why things would come up is that I ran an illegal comedy club at the time. So I'm not going to also throw stones. This guy's dealing coke. I'm running an illegal club. Yeah. Listen, buddy, we're in the same bed. Here's your pajamas. You know what I mean?
We're all in the business of living our lives here, keeping people safe.
All in the business here, right? So, anyways, the club that I ran was in the garage that we rented in this.
Oh, I remember. Oh, yes.
So I lived in a 3-apartment house. I actually do live in a 3-apartment house now. I've actually only ever lived in 3 apartments houses in my life.
This is not the house with the less than extra legal place in the basement. Just for the IANL out there.
It's not the house with the what illegal in the basement? What'd you say?
With the illegal comedy club, extra legal.
Oh no, not where I live now. No.
Yep.
It wasn't in the basement. It was in the garage. But so I ran a comedy club out of the garage, and he was dealing coke to all of Providence College, and this is like fascinating to me, right? So anyways, so I asked him about all his cars because here's where it came in: is that when we would run comedy shows, there'd be cars in the garage, and some of these cars, like he didn't even have the keys to at the time, and I'm like, you know, what the hell? Where are these keys? Like, we gotta move these cars. And one time, we actually, as a group of people, moved a car from the picked up and moved a car. Like a bunch of us picked up and moved a car out of the garage because we needed it out in order to have the show, and the keys weren't around. And the reason why he had multiple cars is that he had different runners. So he hired multiple people at different runners to drive different cars to make deals out of different cars in different areas. So he also would have them park various cars at their house and different spots so that when he would go to make deals, so maybe if a cop was watching, they would see him make a deal in this car, but then the next time it would be a totally different car. So he rotated through different cars. Also, he never made any deals. He hired people to make deals. So they all got cut. So he never touched the stuff. And he would just hire people. He's like, you never do your own product. You never take your own drugs. And you just hire people to take it out and stuff like that and deal it. So it was really a fascinating system. But to talk about it, like, I think everybody has their own levels of security feelings based on what they're doing and what they're participating in online. And so I feel like, you know, just like this guy wanted to have multiple cars, which to me also, I was like, but don't then the cops just recognize multiple cars? You still have the same runners. Like, I was still like seeing holes in the argument.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I guess if you have 6 cars, they see 1/6 of the time. Maybe it's less suspicious.
What it is. I guess it's less suspicious. And he also had different runners. So we had like some people who were very close to the top with him, and then the other people who did other deals, and he would like not keep people for too long and stuff. And it was a really smart system. I don't. It was really brilliant.
A lot of like deep talking about rabbit holes, like really deep thinking, executive functioning, decision making happening.
Yeah. No, it was incredible. I mean, the business mind on this person, I was like, he could have run the MBA, the MBA program,
and that's not.
We don't count drug deals as college credit because honestly, his business model was.
I saw, of course, you know, I think it wasn't The Onion, it was Hard Times. It was another of American satire that had the way more accurate joke than we could ever have, which was a pot dealer released from prison cannot get job at legal weed dispensary. Yes. And it's it's a bonkers joke headline that's 100% correct. And of course, Pepper is on the phone with her lawyer to dispute the.
She's still on the phone.
Did you just hang up on her?
I hung up. I said goodbye to my phone call. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hello. Yes.
we have to vamp while they're on the phone. Pepper's been learning how to do phone calls, so we have to.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah. Are you guys back?
She's still on the phone, but I'm back. Yeah,
Pepper.
so this was
I gotta go.
okay, bye. Yeah, I'll just vamp. I'll vamp while they're on the phone. Yeah, I'm gonna just have to keep taking phone calls. Speaking of rabbit holes. But anyways, speaking of rabbit holes, folks, we also are here on the show to announce to you that after a year of Who's Around, we have decided to not really retire the show, but to turn on to a new chapter of the show. Sorry, excuse me. Hello?
So we're gonna we want to keep the same spirit of like.
Yeah, bye-bye. So
LG team.
Okay.
We're back.
We've got this. We've got this. Well, anyways, we were talking about this. Yeah, and we really love our rabbit holes that we're able to go down into. And LG and I are both rabbit hole enthusiasts, and not the bunny holes per se, like not the holes that actually store rabbits, though I guess we could be. But we're more rabbit hole enthusiasts in regards to taking deep dives into finding out things about information about stuff that we don't know about. And we also thought about how we like to also spread and inform things about, things that actually affect people. So
sometimes it shocks me when I share a piece of information and somebody responds back to me and they're like, oh, this was interesting. Friend of the show, Brad, said that he voted for Fat Bear Week, which is a big deal for me. And it like tickled me to no end because it was like, oh, it's a thing I share. And then, and then sometimes it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that person was running or this thing was happening and so I try to send those little things out to other people when I follow up on a thing that they do because I know how much brain chemicals it gives me. So we want to spread some of those brain chemicals and get some of those back from you guys and go on some deep dives together. I'm learning Twitter.
Yes, I won't. I still have a Twitter, but
I never used it. I hated it. And now I am off almost everything else, doing deep dives on fascist teachers. Our children are the future and they're walking out.
And speaking of deep dive, as we pivot into this new interesting show format. So
That's you.
That's you. That's me.
That's you.
That's me.
That's not John DePietro. That's you.
Oh, that's me. Why is everyone acting like that's John DePietro? That's me. We both have broken into someone's house, though. Allegedly,
Ooh.
We've both broken into someone's house. Today, our first intro into rabbit holes, just stuff that's going on in Rhode Island that maybe you want to know about and that we're going to try to use our show to raise awareness about and, still stick some comedy in. But this is this is an interesting thing that I found today. It's about Classical High School and their students who are very plugged in. I'm going to tell you something. If you want to know stuff about what's happening in Rhode Island, follow the Providence Student Union.
Ooh, yeah.
Great social media. Cops. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And they have a lot of stuff. They bring up a lot of stuff and they ask a lot of really great questions and they contact our politicians and they are doing really the good work because honestly, every generation gets better. You know how people say like the greatest generation already happened? That's all lies. They just keep getting better. Every generation gets better and better. Like that greatest generation was the greatest at that point. But ever since then, every generation and Andy,
pretty great. We're not, and they were pretty great. Let it not be said that hey, greatest generation, pretty great.
But maybe you have to say that. I don't know. Like they were like, okay, I feel like they got a lot of grace for being willing to go to war and not being willing to speak up. And they're being called the greatest generation because of their willingness to comply with everything and not actually challenge any systems, which I don't think makes you great. I think it makes you compliant. I think in order to be great, you have to be pushing boundaries and you have to be shaking things up. And sometimes you might hurt some people and sometimes you might offend some people, but I think you're doing more good. Related, these awesome students who walked out on this transphobic teacher. And this is actually, we got our information today from Uprise RI, and then also the classical newspaper, student newspaper, the Classical Chronicle, which is, I know you're like a high school newspaper, cool, but they actually are required to submit references and stuff because it's student. And so it actually has way better sources than a lot of the other press out there. Like
most of the local, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, this is actually had really cited sources that is better.
Do you know that they don't, to my knowledge, at least as of several years ago, when I taught my state senator how to look up peer-reviewed media, that's not like something they teach you when you get into office, at least in the General Assembly in Rhode Island. So our elected officials are ostensibly Googling.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I, and it's this last election, I noticed it, that I try to keep myself very informed before I vote. And a lot of times that means a lot of last minute looking up of candidates, to be honest with you. I wish I did it months in advance, but I'm not that way. And I'm, trying to get better. But anyways, and I noticed that really, really, when you say anyone can run for office, they really do mean anybody. Anybody. And it is when you start to
actually, you could run for office.
And I could run for office. And I'm not going to get into personal stories here because I know we both have personal stories with some of the candidates that just ran for office this last election, and both of them didn't get elected. So whatever, potato. But anyways, the interesting thing, I think the thing that I walk away with the most is that really anybody can run for election, and really anybody affording those lawn signs is not that hard, and it only takes one conversation to get it up on a lawn. And I used to be of the political mindset that if I saw a lot of lawn signs for the person, I'm going to vote for them. And that is a hazardous way to vote. I recognize it now. Based on, because I was like, look at all these people that got convinced to vote for this person. This must be a good person. And not realizing, look at all those people who had canvassers who are probably not even the real person, be working like this all the time and getting people to vote and accepting a lawn sign. My parents had a lawn sign for someone who is atrocious. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, we're friends. Let me know him for a while. He went to our same church when we were growing up. And I was like, there it is. So, and here's the thing is that can happen. That can happen all the time. Where people are like, I'll just put a lawn sign up for you and who cares, and, they go under that. And so with this show, what I'm hoping to do is also to just bring awareness to some of these names, because sometimes you think, well, this person's got to be good because at least they're a new name, or at least they're supported by the Democratic Party, or at least they've been doing this job for a long time. So there's a lot of reasons why you might think someone is inherently good. Maybe they're new, maybe they're old, maybe they've been there for a while, maybe they're fresh air, but no matter what, they can be really flawed thinking.
Yeah.
If you don't know.
I think just if I would like to share some things with people about how I have learned how to look stuff up and then hear from other people how they do it, because that is how I've gotten. And I think you can, you're saying, you'd like to be less of a last minute Sam, last minute Sally, last minute Sargento. Look at that baby. Some things you see coming and you can research, for the months that lead up. And some things it's like, holy smokes, what did they sneak this in at the last second? Possibly. Yeah. I texted a candidate to be like, hey, there's an error on the ballot that's already out. I voted early so that I could tell people.
Yeah.
Like, and the one time, last minute Linus. There we go.
There it is.
I was like trying to be like, why am I always, when I say something bad, it's like, don't be a negative Nelly. Why is it always a gendered, like, sort of?
Well, I know why. Wait, I know. Pick me. I know why.
Bowler, why do I keep doing that? Even though I don't want to, but it's just something that's been in the, tell me.
You're just so used to it. It's familiar and it's ingrained. Yes. Hello. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I thought you was.
Hello.
Is it internalized some sort of like misogyny maybe? I don't know.
Related story. I wasn't going to show this on air, but now I'm going to. Related story to her practicing a phone call. So, baby girl will practice phone calls on anything. She remote anything, and she just puts the thing to her hair, says hello, gives it to you. You got to say, we all talk on the phone, right? Piece of paper. Earlier in the show, we were doing business cards. But earlier, I was on StreamYard. This is before you came on, LG. And Pepper and I were playing phone calls with each other, just talking on the business card phone calls. And then she goes, hello, babies, in a questioning way. Now, babies is her name for my boobs. And means I would like to nurse now, please. Thank you. And she'll go, babies, And so she goes, home, babies. And I was like, she wants to call my boobs. Yes, she did. She put one of the business cards first over the shirt to call my boobs. One was on the other one. Had the other one on the shirt. Hello. And then she was like, I can't. The signal must be messed up. Looks at my shirt. Puts the business card right to my nipple. And it's like, hello. Yeah. And then pretends to talk to him. And then laughs. And then laughs at her ingenious humor.
Are you sure the nipple just didn't tell a good joke?
It could have, because honestly, she's been doing this. So she's been doing this a lot lately. She's like, she has a little doll. She's got a little pig. She's got a little giraffe, and those are her best friends. Those three are her best friends, and she's around one of them a lot, pretty often. And she wants them to also breastfeed. Like she'll come over to nurse, and then she's just like, doll babies, and I'm like, yep, go ahead. And so I'll either take out the other breast
model for them. That's kind of cool.
Or she'll come over and she'll like bring one over. She's like, hey, you gotta check this out. These smoothies are great. This lady's great. Very accommodating.
5 stars.
5 stars. Bagley and I are constantly around the house like, it ain't no fun if the homies can't have. Not singing that throwback song. No one even, that song, 5 stars. But yeah, and it's sweet because she's being friends with her friends. She's like, she'll do something with a popsicle. She has a popsicle. She's like, oh, you gotta try this. She tries to feed the cat. Like she's just very sweet.
She's sharing.
She's sharing. But today she called my breast. And they answered.
What do you think they said?
I think they probably couldn't talk because they had milk in their mouth.
Oh, okay. Rabbit hole.
Now the audience has no idea how to respond. This is, again, an audience. This is what we're going to be doing. So, audience, we're announcing today, we're taking a slight shift in our format in order to sort of do a little bit of a local style daily show / last week tonight, in which we are going to actually try to talk about local stuff that you might not know about that's going on in this area. And if you are a person who is like, I also like to deep dive into rabbit holes, and you want to join us on our show and be a guest on our show and maybe even bring us a rabbit hole topic,
oh my goodness,
please do. We would love it. We are all ears, because I think I love doing comedy. I always get way more fulfilled with comedy when I feel like I'm affecting change. And I think informing people about what's actually happening in their state. Like, I just walked by some school committee people running for school committee signs today on my morning walk with the baby. And I was like, man, I don't know any of these names. My kid is in school in this town, and I don't even know any of these people. Are they good people? They have the lawn sign on the lawns, and I'm like,
a lot
that
of
doesn't mean anything.
We in a lot. It was like a real running theme through the year plus of Who's Around of figuring out, like, well, they say, this is a thing that appears this way. I lost my train of thought halfway through. That's a thing that happened halfway through the show too.
No, that's all right. But I think we've been uncovering a lot of stuff on Who's Around where we are able to, we have been talking about a lot of serious stuff. So it's not a huge shift, but I think it's a little shift in order to try to get it more local. And you know what? If we slip off the boat and we start talking about another thing that we uncovered a rabbit hole about, we're going to do it. But we're going to shift gears a little bit, audience. And so we are asking for you, if you are like, I want to be a guest because I have a rabbit hole I want to talk about. It could be about anything. If it's about local issues, bonus points. But we're not keeping track of the scores. I don't have anything to write with. I have my phone is paper. It's a paste.
I deleted my keeping scores app because of the data breaches. So
what scores are they gonna get that you're
I don't know.
Set me up. You set me up for anger. No, I love that, and that's great. I do love it. Chloe, you are welcome. About things I find interesting. Yeah, no, find it interesting. I'll tell you, I set this thought in my head like a few days ago, and then today, in order to prep for the show, I was like, I don't even want to look this stuff up, and I realized I wasn't that interested in it. However, I looked up one website, and then I immediately found something that I was like, what? Transphobe teacher? She's got a Twitter. I will look her up on Twitter, and her Twitter is very problematic.
Can I say that the students, the best thing that they did was they read her Twitter. They read her feed. They just, and if you just go through, yeah, she's Rhode Island's Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is
she is. Her name's Ramona Bessinger, and she's been teaching all over the state. She currently teaches in Providence, and she's a problem. She is a problem. She also gets assigned individual students to help like tutor and mentor, which is even more problematic because then she's trying to infiltrate more and talk about indoctrination. But yeah, that's what she's fighting. I
called her a groomer on Twitter, and I landed in jail. Ramona, because she's very, very dangerously transphobic and racist.
And she has been on Tucker Carlson. I think she's looking for some fame, some spotlight. She has been on Tucker Carlson. She's been on Turtle Boy News. I don't know if you've ever gone on that rabbit hole. Turtle Boy News, which is like a highly problematic website. Holy moly. But there was a
I missed that. I missed it. How'd I miss it?
That's the trouble. That's why the government doesn't trust you. What about the anti-trans meeting at the local library? Roy, I'm so glad you brought this up. This is at my library. This is at the library that is 2 blocks away from my house. This is the one we go to all the time with my kids. And I was really upset by this because what happened. So the library did release a statement about this. So those of you folks who didn't know, William Hall Library in Cranston, part of the Cranston Public Library system, is hosted a meeting for the Independent Women's Network. And they featured a guest speaker of this known, called a family advocate, right? So it's actually just, which is,
They all sorts of. It's the same way like crisis pregnancy centers are pretending to be abortion centers.
And they're not. They're just switching bait. Yeah. Yes. So it was interesting to see that up there. And I saw actually posts about the protests first before I saw it, and I was like, okay, is this even happening at the library? Because I've also seen people make up fake events on both sides where North Kingston, for example, one famous in Rhode Island was that North Kingston schools were allowing litter box in the schools for students who identify as cats.
I think John DePietro was part of I think that fake story in North Kingston is part of the reason that has become national, because we've got some Rhode Island pundits. And that's, she's not a teacher. She wants, like you say, she wants to be a pundit. So we've got Rhode Island media personalities going on national media talking about stuff that's happening in our state that's not happening in our state.
It's not actually happening. Yeah, it didn't even happen. So
we're using our name to say things like, hey, you can identify as a cat in North Kingston, and they're making all of the North Kingston's public schools have litter boxes in them.
And they won't.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the North Kingston part. I had heard the national media until one of our friends mentioned it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's interesting because it wasn't even talked about in the North, because in North Kingston everyone knows it's a lie, but they actually where it got some traction was in Bristol Warren school groups, because that was people could lie and no one would, because Rhode Island no one checks in. They're like, North Kingston so far away from Bristol, jeepers crow, we can't get there.
No. Okay, friend of the show, Amanda, has said she's going to bring me a sewing machine table to Portsmouth from across the state, and I
Wow.
said, "Oh my God, she's gonna pack
Well,
pack a."
Amanda's a really wonderful person, though, so that's
She's a
kind of a
really wonderful person.
yeah,
She's a friend of the executive directors, and therefore she's a friend of everyone who likes comedy and good things
yeah,
and abortion. Actually,
yeah.
um, yeah.
She's an abortion advocate.
Is she on the phone? Is she on speaker right
No,
now?
no, no, she walked away with a battery, and I just heard her drop it, which is actually better than her having it in her hand. I'm just keeping an eye out.
Is she from Philadelphia by any chance? You might get a battery whipped at your head.
We're gonna find out. She does love freedom and bells. Um, so yeah, this so I immediately thought this was fake. The library thing, I actually thought it was a fake because I knew the other thing was
Yeah.
fake. So I was like, this is gonna be fake. I went on the library website and noticed it's not advertised on the library website at all. And I was like, knew it. It was a fake, no problem. And then I see more posts about the protests. Then I was like, okay, I gotta get deeper into this rabbit hole, obviously. So I looked up the Independent Women Network. They are real. Here's what happened is that the library has basically a policy that they hid behind and they're readdressing it, blah, 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 blah. But they have a policy that they will rent their auditorium out to anyone who pays the fee. And if it's a library event, the library advertises for it. If it's not a library event, the library doesn't advertise for it. It's just a separate event. And this is true. I have actually rented that auditorium, William Hall, to put on a show before. They don't care. like,
Sure. Yeah,
and
but it's a bringer show. Like if
yeah, it
you
wasn't a
do a
library
crap
event.
ton of advertising,
Exactly. We had to do our own advertising. It was not a library event. They didn't care that, it wasn't theirs. So that is true. And so the library staff apparently was like, someone on the library staff approved this, obviously, but they didn't look up Independent Women Network. They just basically like, we didn't do our homework. We booked it because we saw Independent Women Network.
because it's a library. It's supposed to
The
like be
library,
there to
you
do
don't-
exactly that.
right, right. And that's part of their philosophy is to rent out this room. So, I do believe, I do, as someone who has like run spaces before and has like, people they put what they want in the email. And I'm sure Independent New York is like, we're having like a night for parents, like a parent night. And we're going to talk to him, bring in as guest speaker. It probably sounded like an event on the up and up. So I do think that the library was a little bit duped. However, I do think it's on the library to sort of like look into some of this stuff. And once they heard wind of the protest, I think they should have taken it upon themselves to take down the event, as opposed to what they did instead, close the library and had the event anyways. And I think in closing the library, it gives those people more peace because less access to that area. Other people can't go there.
I didn't know about that second. I knew that it went forward. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that they closed the library to the public, you mean, so
They
that
closed
the rest of the facility wasn't open. So basically they had to said that they had to cave to this group.
I mean, it's hard. I'm of two minds of this. I understand when you're booking a space and you're not like, if it's a thing, the library gets $50 or whatever when you book the space. Maybe it's 100 now, but like it's not much. They're probably just like, great, process, check cleared, great. This is the name of the organization. This info done. Like they probably didn't even give it a second thought. So I understand where that.
It's one of the only places where you can go very cheaply and rent room space, and that's great. It's one of the great things about our libraries.
Right. Exactly. So I don't begrudge the library for what they did. I do think though, when people found out who this was and we started protesting it, and there was a lot of people showed up at the protest. I was very proud of our community that came there, and it was awesome. So I'm glad that people stuck up for it. And I'm glad people gave Cranston Library a hard time. As much as I love that library, I'm glad people said, hey, what's happening? This shouldn't have ever happened. You should have looked into it. And they were apologetic. I hope that in the future they do better. I'm curious to see. I'm keeping an eye on it. It is still the library we go to. It's right there. I'm still supporting a library. I'm not going to stop supporting a library because of this one event. Well, I am going to keep a track on this sort of thing and keep an eye on like what else are they doing? Who else are they hosting? And they, the librarians there, it's interesting because the library itself is very trans friendly. There's a lot of signage. There's also baskets of pins, of pronoun pins, like littered throughout the library. They hide one in the teen section so that teens can go in there and be like alone and like get what they need. So like there is a lot of advocacy at this particular library. Like there are pride flags, there's trans flags, there's like posters. There's books. They have them up on the shelves of like what happens when you do that. Like it. Yeah, it is. No,
You
it's
have fun. Well, it sounds like it's like one of those things where hopefully people, when they emailed and called the library, a friend of ours, Julie, is doing an internship with Queer Youth and was like, hey, I've got the email address for the the person on the board, or the person, like, because it's the librarians that are putting all that stuff out on the floor are
Yes.
super chill. It's probably like the I always like to see who's on the board, and who is philanthropically, giving their time and their money, and who's getting tax breaks, and who's making handshake deals, and who can get you the best internship, kind of thing.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, because boards can be really genuine and really trying to do great things, and boards can be a way for people to hide. I was gonna say, like, hide their wealth, hide their poor affiliation. Snacks. Yes.
Do you want to call? Wait, do you want to? I can't remember what they're called.
Babies.
Babies, yes. She's getting older, so I have to watch my words.
She's like, "We talking about babies?" She's like, "I love babies."
Babies. A baby, a child. I learned the other day. A kid that I really love and miss said that they missed me the other day, and I was like, my heart. It goes pitter fucking patter.
Pitter fucking patter, everybody. Yeah, so we've got good stuff ahead. We've got good stuff coming up. We've got multiple cameras draped over. That's more concerning, honestly, security-wise, than whatever.
I had done a couple of John DePietro Photoshop things. I did some late night thing.
Yeah. Are there any more like Photoshop or videos you want to show us? Because we've got a little bit of time.
I mean, I'm looking at the election laws, which is a thing I do have here. I was looking stuff up about our friend, about this guy, and I realized that my dad has a collection of digital cameras. That I would like him to not have this collection, but this is the way to take pictures, my friends. I don't know if people will know if I'm being serious or not, so I'm going to, just for the record, I'm going to give these back to my dad. They're going to go back in a drawer. And I'm going to get my wind up disposable camera.
Because you're afraid to take pictures digitally, you're going to get a disposable one that you're never going to develop? No.
I have literally never. I would not even know how to operate these anymore.
No. I was like, refuse. It was some bitter fucking batter.
Bitter fucking batter. Now, were they?
New show name, new concept idea. It's no longer Rabbit Holes. It's now called Bitter Fucking Batter. And it's about scorns from baseball. Any old hurts we've had from baseball players. No.
This is it. We're just, nope. What looks the most like batter? This is called fruit salad, this background.
Looks like ambrosia salad. I feel it.
Nectar of the gods. Get some better, but Roy 100% get some better.
Oh no. And then look what happens when we say we're going to relaunch a new format.
Better butter. I ruined my babysitter's day. I made my sitter sadder. We're a very serious show.
We're very serious show. But maybe we're gonna get more serious. No, we're not. Next time you see that's all gonna be John DePietro's face.
No, I can't look at him anymore.
No, you're right. Some will be Helen Glover. Helen Glover was on Survivor. This just in.
Was he really?
Helen Glover was on Survivor. We watched the whole season. We were rooting for her until I was like, gosh, she looks familiar. And Lynn Bagley was like, yeah, she's from Rhode Island. Of course she looks familiar, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, oh no, I used to work with her at fucking Clear Channel. I know who she is. Anyways.
Oh, Mike Butts in the morning. Best
Yeah.
of Butts, Volume 2.
Roy, the dildos are a nice touch. Yabayoo! Hello? Yes. Yeah, I understand. We gotta go.
I've got a vamp again. There's been a phone. Oh, wait.
Oh, now
Yeah.
she's on the phone. We gotta.
She's on the phone with the baby, with the mama. Oh,
I like how she holds it here too.
hey. It's been
But
really
anyway,
nice to talk to you and see you again, Pepper.
yeah,
And
nice.
oh, did you want to say something, Pepper?
Litter fucking ladder. Oh my god. Don't litter, Jordan. Don't litter.
Do it. Just do it. Ladder.
No, we gotta end the show. That's it, everybody.
I think we got to end the show.
We end the
It's
show.
been very nice to see you. See your face and faces.
Yes,
Your face in this space, Bowler. Oh no.
No, she's taking the the business card and she's just like, let me just see what happens if I rub it.
She's checking to see if you've got a QR code on there.
Just seeing, she's just like, who else can get into these titties?
I mean,
Okay.
you can unlock an iPhone with a nipple, I think. So just be careful. Security culture.
Call me on the phone for chitter chatter. Trevor, that's very personal. I'm not going to call you on my boob phone. Okay.